This is the only video that you will need before buying your first property in Thailand. I'm Artem, co-founder of Insight Estate. I've lived in Thailand, I've worked in Thailand, I've helped people buy property in Thailand, and I bought property myself. Today I will show you how it actually works, what you can buy as a foreigner, what you cannot buy, how the money moves in, how to rent out, how to move money out, and what are the real costs of buying property in this beautiful country. Let's start with the biggest traps people fall even before they start thinking about acquiring property in Thailand. Some foreigners think they can own land. They cannot. On the contrary, others think they cannot own any property in Thailand, and they can. Many think that they can own with a company and that's easy. It's not. People confuse Thai business culture with the Western countries. Some trust the online pictures, not realizing a lot of listings online are outdated. People don't get what is 49% foreign quota. They don't get what is 30 years leasehold. A lot of investors forget to check taxes, maintenance fees, sinking fund fees, transfer fees, and etc. And this can add up to a big chunk of money. Some will buy off-plan properties, not understanding the timelines and the financial planning. Right now, a lot of investors arrive to Thailand thinking that property here is cheap. Well, it's cheaper than in the West, but it's not that cheap. People assume that real estate brokers represent them. Not always the case. Buyers think that renting out is easy. Well, there are some complications with the short-term rentals here. And most importantly, most of the buyers don't research the title deeds, don't make the due diligence, don't research the developer, and this is extremely important. We will try to deal with all of those traps, and if you want more deep dive researches like this, don't forget to hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel not to miss the new videos. There are many rules that you must follow, and failing to follow even one rule may cause a lot of serious problems for you going forward. For example, you can lose the right to use the land under your house, or your lease might not renew. If you fail with the paperwork, with the banking, you might not be able to transfer your funds out of the country. Fake listings can steal your deposit. Bad developers can delay the construction for years and years. Without a lawyer, contracts may favor the seller's side big time. Not checking the maintenance fees might come as an unpleasant surprise for the years to come. Some condos, unfortunately, can have bad management companies with pools that are not taken care of, or broken elevators. Well, the picture looks scary. I would be scared if I were you, but luckily we can easily flip it, and the smart investors, if they follow very simple rules, can overcome all those traps without serious problems. First and foremost, know your goal. That might sound obvious, but I would say that 80% of people exploring options don't really understand what they want from their property. Know your goal. That's your number one priority. Second, understand the ownership structure. That's also very important. I will have a dedicated session later on. Be ready for the Thai style of doing business. So it might be slower, might not be that direct, but also it's just different from the West. Don't lose your head if you hear a limited offer. Stay calm and think twice. Always use your lawyer or your trusted broker, because if you use the seller's lawyer, you might get in trouble because your interests are not represented. Do your due diligence. Understand the developer's history. Understand the paperwork. Who owns the land? What's going to happen to other projects of those developers? Do your homework, and you can also outsource it with the good local broker. Be sure to ask for the full cost breakdown, because the price tag is just the beginning. There are certain payments you'll be entitled to, and it's important to understand when and how much you will need to pay on top of the property price, and it's better to know beforehand. And one more, I guess, obvious thing, but people still make mistakes here. don't you ever sign a contract that you don't understand. Make sure you understand every line and make sure you are clear in terms of the costs, consequences, and all the important matters they can affect your experience with the real estate. Even if the seller is rushing you because it's a limited offer or whatever it is, take your time. It's better to take one more day and maybe to lose a good deal than to buy a bad deal today. So the first problems are bad, but the long-term consequences could be even worse. If you learned something new already, please hit the like button and let me know in the comments what is the biggest myth about property acquisition that you've heard. So let's start with the legal theory. Thailand has a very distinct ownership framework in place, and knowing it well can save you out of trouble. The biggest limitation for foreigners is land. As a foreigner, you can never own a plot of land here in Thailand. Only Thai nationals or Thai companies can own land in the country. As a foreigner, you can legally own 100% under your name a condominium, an apartment. At the same time, there is a law that limits the foreign quota up to 49% of the building area. So let's imagine there is an apartment building of 100 absolutely exactly same units. Foreigners can legally own 49% of those units. As a foreigner, you can establish a Thai company that can own land or it can own the apartment. But here's the trick. When you establish a Thai company, you can own only 49% of the company, and 51% should be with the local person holding Thailand passport. Of course, you can establish the company where the local person who owns 51% cannot make decisions. So this is perfectly possible, but at the same time, it's kind of the gray area. I would say it's illegal to have a nominal director. Really, to be on the safe side, you really need a person who will be there and whom you can trust. If you still want a villa and the land, or you don't want to own an apartment, in some parts of the country, you can deal with leasehold. This is also an average market practice here in Southeast Asia. So leasehold is usually a contract term when you lease the land or you lease the apartment from the developer for 30 years. 30 years is the baseline. Of course, you can put in the contract that it will be renewed. Usually you put in the contract that the lease will be renewed twice for 30 and another 30 years, so 90 years in total. Make sure you discuss that with your local broker or your local lawyer, because there are some complications and there are some specifics to that process. Me personally, I own a couple of condos leasehold. This is perfectly fine with me. Two more things of a high importance about the legislation part. Number one, the contracts are usually in Thai and English, and in the majority of cases, Thai version is more important than the English one. So make sure you discuss that with the local lawyer, or you get this contract from the broker or the developer that you trust, really trust. Second, for the freehold, it's very important that the funds for the property acquisition are being transferred from overseas. And this is very important because you will need a special certificate that approves or guarantees that those money came from abroad. And if you don't have it and you sell your property, you will not be able to move the money out of the country. So make sure you have the certificate. It's called FET form, because you might get in trouble 10, 20, 30 years from now just because your banking transaction wasn't orchestrated the right way. And three, not that important things, but still important. First, make sure to register everything in the land department. Second, make sure you have money for the sinking fund. This is a one-time payment when the property is transferred to you, and it will be used against some renovations when and whether the building will need them. And also, please do check the maintenance fees from the management company. For a regular condo, usually it's around 50 or 60 Thai baht per square meter per month. So it's around $1,000 a year as a maintenance fee. There are condos where you pay 50 and there are condos where you pay 150, and this is quite a difference. So make sure you understand the maintenance fees before you make the move. I guess that all might sound a little bit overwhelming, but if you need help understanding that in more details, I will leave the link in the description below. Please make sure to click it, and me and my team will be happy to guide you through the process and find the perfect options for your goals. And you remember that knowing your goal is the most important thing with investments. Next big topic is money and cost structure. Why is that important? Because a lot of investors think that they have the price tag of $1 million and they think they need $1 million. Actually, they need more, because there is a certain list of payments you're entitled to as a property owner. It depends whether it's off-plan or the secondary market. It may be affected by the fact you're buying from the developer or from the person. And if the person used the property or owned the property for less than, let's say, 5 years, it all may affect the cost structure. I would say, as a rule of thumb, the most cost-efficient acquisition is buying off-plan from the developer. Here we can optimize the majority of the additional payments. I made a dedicated video about this topic. I will put it here, but to give you the idea what might come on top of the price tag. So we start with the purchase price. Then we have a transfer fee that is payable between seller and buyer to the government. Then, as said, we have the sinking fund, one-time payment. Then we have the maintenance fee. Usually, you need to pay it for 1 year in advance, and you need to do that every year. Then it could be the furniture package or the furniture cost if you want to buy yourself. Then, if it's a secondary market, maybe you want to renovate your new house or your new apartment. Then you have the due diligence, the lawyer or the broker. Maybe you want an insurance. Maybe if it's a villa, it needs some investments into the AC or the pool or the fence or anything else. You know, something's happened to houses from time to time. If everything goes really bad, this additional cost can climb to 15, 20, 25 or even 30% on top of the buying price. If we are speaking about, let's say, a condo in the off-plan development, I would say that it's safe to say like 5, 6, 8% on top of the selling price will be your sweet spot. If you want a full Thailand property cost calculator and the ability to optimize your expenses, let me know in the comments. Comment calculator. I'll make sure to send it over to you. Now let's talk about property types and why would you want to acquire them. Because different property types work differently for different investment goals. Usually we're choosing between a condo, we can call it a flat or an apartment, and villas or houses. Both can come in very different variants, but I will try to make it for an average condo and an average villa. So condos are the most safe option for a foreigner because you can own it 100% under your name forever. Second, it's easier to maintain because there is a dedicated management company that maintains the whole building, and it's just easier in general, not only in Thailand. Apartment is easier than the house. I would say that usually it's easier to rent out and usually it's easier to resell. For the villa, on the flip side, you can't really own the land under your villa, you need to lease it. We can still put the very safe ownership framework in place, but the land is not yours. At the same time, you have better privacy. On top of that, you have higher maintenance costs and villa might be harder to sell. So those were property types. Let's discuss construction phases. And here we have two options. That's off-plan, something under construction or about to be constructed, and the ready-to-move-in units. So both have their pros and cons for the off-plan properties, and I really love off-plan, to be frank with you. You can enjoy installment plans even as a foreigner, so you don't need the full amount in one go. Check the developer history easily, and the building itself doesn't have any history yet, which might be very tough to check what happened to these buildings in the last 10 years, who knows. And you get a modern building with a modern design and modern facilities. On the contrary, there is a risk that developer fails, the building will not be constructed, unfortunately, and you can face a possible delays in the construction, because if you work in construction, you know that delays happen. And usually if we're buying off-plan, your property will appreciate with the construction progress. So in terms of risk-reward, this is probably a little bit of of a higher risk, but your return on investment is much, much higher. If we are speaking about secondary market, it also has some pros and cons. As pros, it's a ready unit. You can come, you can feel it, you can touch it, you can move in the same day you bought it. If it's a rental business, you know the history, the actual history. Maybe it already has the long-term tenant. You just buy it and you get your returns immediately. And also for the secondary market, you might find what is called a distressed unit. So when the owner really needs to sell it and he's selling it lower than the market, this might be a great chance to acquire something beautiful and with a very good price tag, but you need to move fast, and I wouldn't recommend it as a first-time investment. What I don't like about the secondary market, of course you can negotiate on the price, but you will need to pay it in one go. Mortgage options are very limited for the foreigners here in Thailand, so you just need a lot of cash and you need to bring this cash in one go. No installments possible. On top of that, if it's a secondary market, someone already have used this property, maybe it needs some repairs, some renovations, maybe new furniture, because if you're buying brand new property, everything is brand new. Here you will probably need to invest. But at the same time, if you need to invest into the renovation, maybe you can negotiate with the seller for the better price. So net-net, secondary market feels like a lower risk, but also lower reward. Me personally, I prefer off-plan at the moment in Thailand. What I most dislike about the secondary market is that finding the right unit might take much more time, because you need to explore the whole market, not just certain developers. And second, you are dealing not with a developer, with the established legal folks, with the contracts in place, publicity on the market. You are dealing with the person. You can't always be 100% sure that the person is legit, that the papers are legit. So in this sense, it could be a trickier process. So we discussed what you can buy. Now let's discuss where you can buy your property. In Thailand, there are several very, very different markets, again, each with its pros and cons, but the biggest are. So first is Bangkok, huge city, #1 property market in Thailand, stable returns, stable demand for the properties. Next, I would say Phuket. This is where I live. This is the biggest island of Thailand. This is the most luxurious island of Thailand, and there is a lot of government plans and investment to make it very, very beautiful, luxurious, with a brilliant lifestyle, and Thai government is really putting a lot of effort towards Phuket. Next is Pattaya, beachside city, 1 hour or 90 minutes from Bangkok. Very popular tourist destination, but also a buzzing business hub. I would say it's more affordable than Phuket and delivers a slightly different demand for the properties, because it's not only tourists, but there are a lot of locals and a lot of expats living long-term in Pattaya. Next, if you go from Bangkok to the west, you come to Hua Hin. This is also a beachfront, beautiful small town with a stable demand, with a lot of Westerners and a lot of local higher class people come into the city to enjoy the beach, to enjoy the sea. So a really nice option to Pattaya or Phuket. Then there is Chiang Mai. This is the second biggest city in Thailand in the north. So a really nice place. Still a city, not that buzzing monster as Bangkok, just a different lifestyle, much more affordable, but I wouldn't say that there are a lot of options for property acquisition, especially off-plan. And then there are smaller islands, for example, Samui, a very nice place, mostly villas, just a few condominiums. Close to Samui there is Koh Phangan, also a very nice island, which used to be famous for crazy full moon parties and half moon parties, but more and more people, even with families, choose it for long-term living. So also the island is developing really fast and it's fascinating, really beautiful place. Why is it important to know the area? Because legislation may differ between, for example, islands and the mainland. You might want to look for different criteria choosing the right property in the big city versus the island. Make sure to also check not only the beach proximity or the underground tube proximity, but also check the hospitals, check shopping centers, check restaurants, check international schools. So there is a lot of things to check, and actually we did it for you. We have more than 300 vetted developments across Thailand that we scored across more than 100 criteria each, and now we are sure that those developments are of a good investment value. So if you need help with picking the right one, the link is in the description below. The next important component is the due diligence. No one likes to do it because it's super dull. But that's an important part, and if you skip it, you might be in deep trouble. So what would be my dozen actually things to consider when you are doing due diligence? First, check the developer track record. Verify land ownership. Confirm the building permits. Check foreign quota for condos. Review the maintenance fees and the sinking fund. So everything that comes on top of the price tag. Look for past disputes, even online. Check utility rates. Review maintenance history. Check future development plans from the same developer or in the neighborhood. Inspect access roads. Check environmental risks. And if you have a chance, inspect the unit physically or ask someone to make a virtual tour for you. And the show unit in the developer's sales office is actually, again, good enough to get the perspective and to understand what it would be like to live in this place. So the bad news is that you really need to do your due diligence, and this is not fun. The good news is, first, we did it for you, and second, you don't really need to fly to Thailand if you don't feel like so, because you can do everything online, including the transaction itself. If you appreciate this depth of discussion, please drop a like below and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it a lot. Now the money question. How to transfer money correctly so you don't have problems going forward. And this is super important, because if you don't take care of this process and you do transaction incorrectly, you might not be able to transfer funds out of Thailand when you sell your property. So listen carefully. Let's discuss freehold. So you are buying a freehold condo, or you are buying a freehold house on a leased land. It doesn't matter. First and foremost, the money must come from outside of Thailand. This means that you must use an international bank transfer. I really encourage you to properly state the purpose of this transaction. Payment for the property XYZ number A105 for Mr. John Smith. That should be the title for your transaction. Be very specific that you are paying for the unit in this project under this name. Please, please, please keep all the paperwork that you had with your bank. So don't bring cash. Try to avoid third-party transfer solutions, but do keep your receipts. All payments are nominated in Thai baht and Thai baht only. So when you are sending funds from abroad, please make sure you understand the conversion rates, because the bank will add some fee if you are sending US dollars, euros, whatever you send. It's not Thai baht, and you will have a conversion rate. If you follow the process and you do everything right, you will get the so-called FET, foreign exchange transaction form, that authorizes that the money came from abroad, and the same form will authorize you when you sell your property to move funds out of the country. If you don't have this form, your money will be stuck in Thailand, so make sure to follow the process. So you did everything right. You send money, you get the FET form, everything was completed. Now you have your unit ready and you want to rent it out. This is a good, sound strategy, and the rental yields in Thailand are quite nice, so you can enjoy 6 to 10% easily, even more in some cases, but as a rule of thumb, I would say between 6 and 10. But renting out also has some specifics, like everything in a different country. If the building doesn't have the hotel license, you cannot rent it out for less than 30 days. The minimal amount that you can put on Airbnb or just directly to a person and sign a contract will be 30 days. Think of that as 1 month usually, except for February. If the building has the hotel license, usually the hotel operator will take care of everything. You will enjoy a passive income without any hassle at all. If there is no hotel license, then you need to either rent out yourself or find someone who will do it for you, and you can do it legally just for more than 30 days. Some buildings, some management companies will enforce those policies, so they will closely monitor that you don't rent out for a week or 1 day or 2 weeks. Some buildings may not care about that, but this is your responsibility to choose how to tackle that issue. In some parts of the country, rentals might be very seasonal. High season brings in triple or 4 times the income of the low season, and the occupancy is close to 100%. Actually, I did a dedicated video about the rental strategies. I also will put it here. Feels like I made a lot of videos about investment in Thailand. What you need to remember as the main items. If you don't have a hotel license, you can rent only 30 days plus. The rental income, you need to pay taxes on your rental income. That's probably 2 main items you need to remember. And what I also encourage you to do is to do some home staging. Home staging stands for small investment that can boost your rental yields. So for example, you get your brand new apartment, it's ready to move in, it has everything, but investing a tiny sum into making the place more unique, more comfortable, some pillows, some colors, maybe a good office chair for work. This goes a long way. So if you do that, even from year 1, you will enjoy a higher rental yield, and the return on investment of this particular activity is just awesome. Now let's jump to the end of the story with your property. When you acquire property, think of your exit strategy. If you want to have it for life or to pass it on, that's also an exit strategy in a sense, but be clear that you want to buy this apartment and pass it on to your kids or grandchildren. That's perfectly fine. So what smart buyers do? First and foremost, they know their holding period, when ideally you want to sell your property, if you want to sell it. Please keep all the documents in a safe place and all together. Please do your tax due diligence and understand taxes beforehand. As a rule of thumb, if you own the property freehold and you sell it and you have a capital gain, this capital gain is taxable. Right now, if you are a non-resident in Thailand, you will pay 15% from the capital gain amount. When you sell, try sell realistically, but again, if you are not in a hurry, you can price up and wait for the right buyer. If you are in a hurry, maybe you will be forced to drop your price. Make sure you use good agents. It's a good idea to refresh your property a little bit before listing. This is the same as with home staging. You invest a tiny amount, but it gives you a price premium on the market. You may need to check Thai versus foreign quotas for your building. You can ask your developer or your management company to help with that. Watch out for the currency difference. I don't think you should wait for the perfect conditions. In my experience, perfect conditions never ever there. And be prepared for negotiation, because the buyer also wants a good deal. Tell me in the comments, where would you love to buy a property in Thailand? Is it Bangkok? Is it Chiang Mai? Is it Samui? Or is it beautiful island of Phuket? So I tried to fully map your journey towards your perfect property acquisition in Thailand, be it your second home, be it a vacation home, be it just an investment or the rental yields. It's all there. The good parts, the risks, the actual steps you need to take to avoid traps. And if you made it this far, you're already ahead of 99% of the investors out there, and you can make a very, very good choice. Take your time, ask the right questions, talk to relevant people, and don't rush. If you need help, there is a link in the description. I would appreciate if you can subscribe to the channel, and also make sure to check those 2 videos, because YouTube is never wrong and it thinks that you might like them. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.